Hi guys, it's Brandon and I'm going to be really quiet because it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I've just had a crazy idea. I just realised that I needed to do some homework and I forgot to do it. Now obviously it's Tuesday now, but this video won't be coming up till Saturday morning. So obviously, yeah, but it's 2 in the morning and I can't get to sleep. The light is on, my mum and dad are in bed. I'm in my mum and dad's room, they're sleeping downstairs because I don't even know, they fell asleep downstairs and just turned the light off. So I'm sleeping here right now in my mum and dad's bed. The light is on. It's dark outside, it's dark out in there. It's literally just dark everywhere. But I'm going to read to you today. So, let's read a book called Unbelievable. Okay, so I'm on page 55. Okay. On the 3rd day, the queue was 4 miles long. On the 5th day, it was 6 miles long. People had to wait for 3 days to reach the front, and the biscuit had given away $500,000. That's a lot. The money was brought every morning from the bank in an armored car. Tiny ran up and down, licking everyone with her little turned up head. She's got a turned up head, the dog. At the end of the week, the armored car brought a large box of money. I will need $100,000 to see me over the weekend, said the busker. I'm sorry, said the bank manager, but there's only $90,000 left. If you were, I would stop now and keep some for myself. If I were you, I would stop now and keep some for myself. The busker knew that this was good advice, but he couldn't keep it. The crowd all expected money. Some of them had been waiting in the line for 3 days and 3 nights. He tried to cut back and give each person less, but he couldn't. They all knew what each compliment was worth. $200. Okay, I'm going to read this in American because it's American. $200 for a good song about the busker and $50 for a drawing of him. He tried to give less, but they started complaining and yelling that it wasn't fair. They said they were being cheated. Is that a firework? At 2 in the morning. Okay. The busker was sick of it. He realized they didn't really like him. He was tired of hearing people tell him how good he was, but he had to keep going. Finally, the terrible moment came. He ran out of money. There wasn't 1 cent left. He wrote a sign which said, "Out of money." He hung the sign on the tent door and ran into the house with Tiny. The news spread down the line like wildfire. "There's no more money," they yelled. The line broke up and a mob charged up to the house. They started yelling and banging on the door. The busker was scared out of his mind. Someone threw a rock through the window and glass shattered all over the floor. "Cheat!" he heard someone yell. "Robber! I've been waiting in this freezing cold for 2 nights. Get him! Teach him a lesson!" Another rock smashed through the window. The door was rattling and shaking. The busker knew it would soon collapse. He ran out of the back door, followed by Tiny. The yard was empty and there was nowhere to hide. He could hear the mob smashing and crashing around the house. He had to hurry. Then he saw the well, with the rope ladder still hanging down it. He ran over and climbed down, leaving Tiny at the top. He was only just in time. The angry crowd burst into the yard, yelling and shouting. Then saw he'd escape, and they went crazy. Oh, you probably didn't hear that. They smashed up the house and sold all the busker's new purchases. They broke everything they could get their hands on. One group even destroyed the back fence at the top of the well. Someone untied the ladder and let it go. They had no idea that far below the terrified busker was hiding at the bottom. After a while, the police managed to control the mob and sent them home. But it was too late to save the house. When darkness came, it was a complete ruin. The busker looked up and saw the moon. He thought it would be safe to call out for help. He yelled at the top of his voice, but no one answered. Nobody could hear him. For the well was too deep. No one knew he was there, except Tiny. Days passed and no help came. It was cold and dark and smelly at the bottom of the well. The busker would have starved to death if it hadn't been for Tiny, the little dog, which ran off in search of food. And it was very difficult for her with her bent back head. She had trouble picking anything up in her mouth. She had to lie on her side, grasp a piece of food with her teeth, and then stand up. After this, she would trot to the well with an old bone or a piece of stale bread and drop it down the well. The days turned into weeks, and still no help. It's 2 a.m. What is that? I think my mom's up. Mom? Okay, no, okay. Did you hear that? Oh well, whatever. Once, Tiny dropped down a dead cat. Whatever it was, the busker had to eat it or starve. In all this time, Tiny gave everything she found to the busker. She ate practically nothing herself. After a month, she was skin and bone and so weak she could hardly drag herself to the well. The busker shouted every day, but no one came. He yelled up at the sun, at the clouds, at the moon so far above, but no one answered. Then one day, a terrible thing happened. Nothing was dropped down the well, no bone, no scraps, nothing. The next day was the same, and the day after that. The busker licked the water off the wet wall, but he had nothing to eat. He knew that his time had come. He couldn't last much longer. He grew weaker and weaker, and he wondered what had happened to Tiny. At the end of the fifth week, the busker decided to give up one more loud shout. His voice was almost gone. "Help!" he screamed. "Help!" He peered up at the small dot of light above, which was a head looking down. Was that a voice? He strained to listen. "Hang on," said a faint voice. "We will soon have you out." He was saved. A little later, a steel cable came down the well. There was a small seat on the end. The busker sat on it and yelled up the well, "Take me up! Take me up!" When he reached the top, he blinked. The bright light hurt his eyes, but he managed to see 4 or 5 men with a tow truck and a winch. They were staring at his wild, smelly, dirty man who had came up at the well. "We had better get you to hospital," said one of the men. "You don't look good." "You're lucky to be alive," said another. "I would never have heard you if it wasn't for that poor little dog lying over there. I came over to see if it was still alive and heard you calling out." The busker ran over where she was dead. She had starved to death because she had dropped every piece of food she could find down to the busker. Tears fell down his tangled beard. He picked up Tiny in his arms. "You can leave me," he said to the men. "I will be all right." He buried Tiny in a small grave there in the backyard. One piece of wood wrote, "My friend Tiny, R.I.P." Then the busker shuffled off. He was never seen again. "And that is the end of the story," said the old man. "I had forgotten where I was, sitting there on the sand dune at the beach in the middle of the night. The story had completely taken me in. I looked at the old man, but I still couldn't see his face. I wanted to ask him questions. I wanted to know if the story was true. I wanted to know what happened to the busker. But I never got the chance. "Go, now, boy," said the old man. "That is the end of the story. Go and leave me alone. I'm tired. That explains me. I don't want to go. I didn't want to go, but he sounded as if he meant it. I stood up and walked away along the top of the sand dune. After I got a little way, the moon came out. I turned around and looked back at the tree where the old man had told me the story. I could see him clearly. He had a white beard and was standing in the moonlight looking up over the tree. Then he walked away, now looking up at the stars and the moon. With a shock, I realized his neck was fixed back. He couldn't move it. He was destined to spend all his days looking up, as he had looked up that well so many years ago. The story was true, and he told the man, and the old man was the busker. I watched him shuffle away with his bent neck. Then the moon went in, and he was gone. I ran home as fast as I could and jumped into bed, but I couldn't sleep. I lay there thinking about the sad, strange tale of Tiny and the busker who had tried to use money to make people like him. The next morning, I met Dad on the stairs. He pushed $10 in my hand. "Here you are, Tony," he said. "If Tanya won't go out with you unless you take her in a taxi, you might as well have the money." "Thanks, Dad," I said. I stuffed the $10 into my pocket. Then I went round to Tanya's house and told her to jump in the lake. And told her to go jump in the lake. Okay, that's all I'm gonna read. So now I'm on to chapter Superman, page 61. And I'm going to be reading you. So this is like, is that a firework again? It's actually 2:15 in the morning. I'm a little tired now. So actually, I'm a little tired now. It's 2:15 in the morning. I love you guys, and I'll see you all next time. And remember, do I look tired? Wow. And remember, above all else, stay awesome, possums.